Coming up on the talk show, an interview with a good friend of mine, Shlomo Levinger. As I promised at the end of last week, here is the episode. It's Monday now. We recorded this on a Wednesday night last week. It was a really fun time just hanging out with a good friend, talking Magic, his experience with Mike Trout. It's honestly crazy, and you just hear him telling the story kind of nonchalantly in this interview. If you go watch the video, and the link to it is in the description, go watch it. You'll see how crazy this is. He kind of plays it off like it's cool. I obviously have seen this before and have heard about it, so I'm not, giving him a crazy reaction even on this interview. But the whole thing is so nuts. And his whole story, how he got to where he is, how he got into Magic, is kind of cool. So definitely enjoy. It's an hour of just us talking, good friends. He did a magic trick at the end, so lots of cool stuff. And all that and more is coming up next on the talk show. Joining me now on the talk show, long overdue guest, a roommate of mine, someone who's wanted to be on for a while and I've wanted to have on for a while. Shlomo Levinger, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to the show, buddy.
What is up? What's going on? The podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. And you've always asked me to come on, and I was like, well, you don't really do sports. And then you went out and just did the coolest sports related thing that anyone I know has done. So I was like, all right, well, now you could come on. Yeah, obviously.
By the way, just off the bat, I just said the podcast is the talk show. I don't know why I said the podcast, but the thing is though that the talk show is in my mind, it's such a generic name that see, people make that mistake. So I think we should maybe not on this show, but in the future, let's brainstorm a little bit.
Hey, if you want naming rights, those are rights that you could pay for.
That's true. All right. Maybe I'll sponsor the name.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So anyway, I want to get into you, basically background. You're a magician in the Orthodox community mostly, and then kind of blew up in everywhere. So I want to start with your background, how it all began, how you became a magician, how you got into it, how you became a magician. What was that?
So there's no exciting, crazy story with this. It's actually just pretty boring. When I was 14 years old, I was in 9th grade in high school. I was a freshman, and I decided that I needed a hobby. I was like, I like sports. I've always been a big sports guy. I've always played sports, watched sports. My teams aren't that good, but still big sports fan. And I was just like, I don't know. I always liked just doing stuff with my hands, playing with stuff, a little ADD, just kind of just needed always something to kind of be messing with. And I don't know, I was watching YouTube one day, saw a couple of card tricks. I was like, that looks fun. And I'm like, let me try that. And I'm a people person. So I like interacting with people and just talking all the time. I talk a lot. You'll see on this podcast, I talk a lot. All right. So just prepare yourself, guys.
It gives my voice a break. Thank you.
No problem. And I decided, I'm like, all right, let me try a couple of card tricks. And then kind of got hooked from there. A lot of people go through a magic phase, I would say. It started and never stopped. So here I am.
How did it transition from a hobby to a career?
So, yeah, I think just off the bat, when I was maybe 17, 18 years old, I realized that, hey, entertainment industry is a real thing. And at the time, I didn't know anything. I wasn't even thinking entertainment industry. I was just thinking, how can I make some money performing for people? And started off with some just basics, some holiday parties, a Hanukkah party, just some close family and friends, nothing too crazy. And I was making a little bit of money doing that off the bat. So when I was in high school, I was just good side cash. And then eventually, as it went on through word of mouth, social media marketing, just all that, posting content out there, my name started to spread around, especially the Orthodox Jewish community, which is a really tight-knit community. And if you're trying to get into it, it's a really tight community to get into because everyone knows each other, everyone recommends each other, and it's just that type of camaraderie. So really started to blow up there a little bit. Still nothing too crazy, but just, consistently getting bookings, which is, what entertainers want. And then, over the past, I've been doing this now for about 11 years and I've been performing for about 6 or 7 years. In the last year or two, it's really taken off more than ever. So I'm doing a lot of corporate stuff now. I'm doing a lot of, real events, higher end events. I'm kind of trying to stay away from the kid stuff, even, which in the beginning you have to take because it's just, you got to just get your name out. You got to just get the ball rolling. Yeah, now I can kind of be a little bit picky into what I take and what type of gigs I take, and really only just doing more high end stuff and just really nice events and just blowing people's minds. That's the main thing.
So, like you said earlier, that you're a talker, you like to perform. That I think is what separates when it comes to magicians. Like you said, it's a hobby at the beginning. You're just messing with your hands. It's something sleight of hand. Obviously, you have to practice that. But I think what separates you from other people is the performance aspect of it. You are a performer. So, tell me about that part. How you got going. How you got good at that part.
Yeah, so I think if anything, actually, when you say that part versus the magic part, the performing part is the most important part. I think the magic
100%. Yeah.
is a cool avenue to use to get to to be able to perform for an audience. But really, the entertainment part is the main factor. There's a really highly regarded magician. His name is Bill Malone. I wouldn't have expected you to hear of him, but some people may have heard of him. He's one of the greats.
Yeah. Huge magic
He's
following on this
still
podcast, by the way.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's many magic fans on here because they exist. And no, there's this guy, his name is Bill Malone, and he says, and this kind of resonated with me always, uh, his big thing is just fun. Like, as long as you could provide fun, that's the main thing. So I think that just being able to be an entertainer and just connect with people and just be able to entertain and do strong magic at the same time. The combination is killer, and it's just what makes magic so awesome.
Yeah, and something that it's so natural to you. You're not really that's your personality. Obviously, you're performing, but you are someone who likes to have fun with other people and entertain as a roommate. Like that's what that's the connection we had, and that's something that I think really propelled you. But at what point did you realize that hey, this could really happen? I could really make it, make it in this industry.
Yeah, so I don't think there's really one moment. I think it's just at some point there's just like you realize you're like, hey, I'm really doing this. Like you see other magicians that are out there and you say, these guys are not working half the amount of time that I'm working. Like I'm doing, I'm working 3, 4 nights a week. These guys are barely scratching weekends. Like, and these guys are supposed to be the best in the business. And yet they're, you're really working way more than they are. And you realize I realized that I was like, hey, you know what? Part of that is obviously the community that I'm in. But at the same time, I'm not only strictly there, I'm doing all different types of events for everybody. And I think the real main thing with that is when you start getting the attention of athletes and celebrities, and which is part of the reason why I want to come on the podcast. And I believe part of the reason why you even want me to have me now is because I'm going to tell a crazy story in a minute and about sports and magic and combining magic and sports, which are two of my favorite things in the world. So I'm happy I was able to do that. And when you start getting these athletes and celebrities attentions, that's when you realize you're like, okay, this is legit. Like, this is good. This is real. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute because obviously that's why you're here, and you
course.
keep bringing up the community, and I think that's such a huge part of it because, and I do want to talk about that later. So also sidebar that, and we will talk about that. Something else that you said.
Quick note though, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Just a quick note. The community is very important. You also have to be good. Just putting that out there. Meaning,
yep.
If you can't just there's no like quick, it's not just you have a community and automatically it works out. You got to kind of have both. And there's a lot of other factors there too, which I'll explain later, which are actually pretty important as well. So we'll get to that later. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's something that I would definitely talk about because you talked about how you have to have both and the hustle. I heard you talking about on another podcast. You kind of mentioned how you didn't have a license and you were hustling from jobs. You were getting rides to jobs. The hustle, the hard work, that work ethic is something that no matter what industry you're in, if you're like me trying to make it in media or like you as a performer or even someone, I think about my wife who I don't shout out often on the podcast because she doesn't listen. But she's doing, she's a makeup artist and I've seen the tremendous growth she's had over the last year. It's just about hustling and constantly pushing yourself out there. Talk about that and how people could really, anyone in any industry could really learn from you on how you hustled and some of the crazy stories you have early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at the time also, like, for me, I guess it's ingrained in me. Like I never realized what type of craziness I was doing until later when you look back and you're like, I was crazy. Like that didn't make any sense, but yeah, I still did it. Like I was telling the story where like I had a show booked in the summer for like a day camp, like in upstate New York. And I hitchhiked like probably close to 10 miles just to get to this part, like this kids party or like whatever it was. And it's just like those are the types of things that you got to be able to do. Like I'm sure I have other examples in my head of I took a train once from Queens. I live in Queens, New York. I took a train from Queens, New York, like a Long Island Railroad train to Passaic, New Jersey, just to do like I don't know, yeah, like a small party. But for me at the time, I was like, whoa, okay, someone's paying me $250 to do this party for them in New Jersey. Of course I'll do it, and just I'll get there however I get there. I'll figure it out. So just those types of things. And I think part of the hustle also is just social media. Like I feel like I always gravitated towards social media, like Instagram, especially. I've been on Instagram for probably close to 12 years. I don't have nearly enough followers as I should. I should probably have more followers, but I
We'll
don't for
plug
some
you, and
reason.
I'm sure you'll blow up immediately because this podcast is huge.
I'm just saying, if you guys want a good follow at Shlomo Levinger, that's where you should follow. But I've been on Instagram for a while and I've always been pushing that. I've always been posting stories, tricks, magic, events, just different stuff, always just going crazy. Obviously, it's gotten better over the years because I have more experience in social media. So, but just in general, I think like early on, I was just posting a lot and just people were seeing the videos and people were seeing all the stuff. And I started a YouTube channel and I was posting stuff. I don't even remember where anymore. Like I'm trying to think, like I was just every new media app that came out, I was just trying to get on, and Vine. And I don't know if I posted on Vine, but I had probably a couple videos on there, like all these old apps. And now TikTok, like, you know what? I'm 24, I'm almost 25. Should I be on TikTok? Probably not. It's probably for people 10 years younger than me. But you know what? I'm going to be posting on there and I'm going to consistently be doing it because that's how you market and that's how you get your name out there. So, yeah.
Yeah. And if someone would have told you when you were hitchhiking and getting those rides and taking the train that, hey, this will kind of directly lead you to meeting some of the best baseball players in the world, which is what we'll get to next, you obviously would have done it 1,000 times over. But the fact that you didn't have that, foresight, that you couldn't see that, and you still were hustling like that to get to a place that's really unknown, you didn't know where the path was taking you, is just really just admirable. So let's get to the next part.
And I want to add one more thing to that. There's small victories though along the way. Like, along the way, you always think like, oh, that's crazy. And then it just gets crazier and crazier. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I remember I did magic, this has to be maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago, for Michael Strahan. It's not filmed anywhere. You can't see a video of it. But I was in I was in the audience of one of these shows, one of these 100,000 shows that he's part of. I feel like Michael Strahan's on every show. Am I wrong? Is he like
Good Morning America and like
show.
Yeah.
Like
he's
he did like this was like $100,000 pyramid or something. So one of these random game shows. Like Michael Strahan does every show on the market. It's actually crazy. But he was doing this show and I was in the audience and I went over to him. I was like, hey, can I show you a trick? And actually, he's like, yeah, but let's do it at the break and you'll do it for the entire audience, which was super cool. So I got to do it on him for the audience and it went really well. And this is like 5-6 years ago. And that's pretty cool. I don't have it filmed anywhere. I wish I did, but I don't. And then just stuff like that. I've met celebrities down the road, a lot of TV show actors, a lot of movie stars who I've showed magic to. Some of it I have videoed, some of it I have on my social media. Some of it
the Blacklist is like filmed in your backyard, right? So you probably
I met the entire cast of the Blacklist. If for those Blacklist fans, I'm sure we have tons of those on here too. I met the entire cast.
My father's basically the only one who listens, but he's a big Magic fan, big Blacklist fan. But yeah, so he covers all of it.
Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short. I was listening the other day on 1.5 speed, and I got through it pretty good. So it was all right. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Every little, like, you see the small victories, and then eventually you see the bigger ones. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I want to get into that story because I think that's what people are waiting to hear. So I'm curious. I'll go through the whole thing. If you have any specific questions you want to ask, do it now because I'll just rip through it if you want.
I want you to rip through it. I don't know how I should set this up. There's no real way to set it up. Like you said, the small victories are huge. You have to also celebrate those small victories and realize that they're a big part of the step. You have to appreciate that. Otherwise, you don't feel like taking the steps forward. Another thing, and this leads directly into your story that you're about to tell with the baseball players, just unbelievable that you've never been shy. Like the fact that you went over to Michael Strahan and you were like, hey, I want to do magic for you right now. And he's like, do it in front of everyone. You're like, okay, cool, let's do this. That plays into it also.
Yeah. I
And
think,
so, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say, like, I think that I have this big thing that I kind of live by, and that it's a saying. And this is not my saying. I don't even know where I've heard this. Uh, but basically, it's not a saying. It's just that um, it's every situation like that is really like a win-win. Like let's just look at it from, let's look at both perspectives. Let's say it works out great, then you're ecstatic, right? You're happy, you got to give it a shot. If it doesn't work, then all right, you're back to where you were a minute ago, and you'll never see those people again, so who cares? You know what I mean?
100%,
So I think
yeah.
that, like, those are one of those things where in these situations you gotta be able to just say, okay, yeah, you gotta just be logical and say, okay, how am I going to feel in 10 minutes when this goes great, and just visualize that and say, okay, let's go, and if you don't, all right, you're in the same position you want to be. Then the saying is this: if you don't ask, you don't get. And it's a big rule in my life. If you don't ask, you don't get. If you ask, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't, right? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. If you don't ask, you don't even have that chance of ever getting it. So
and they'll tell you that in
more
sales
people
every day. I hear that at work every day. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't ask, you don't get. And it's true, because I've been successful in these situations only because I've asked. So, and if I hadn't DM'd Trout in the first place after he followed me, which is what I'll get to in a second, who said I would have even done anything that I'm going to get into? So, yeah, that being said, I'll start from the beginning, basically.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is the story of how I basically hung out and performed magic. And this is not just in a this wasn't in a this was more in like a casual setting. So we really did hang out for Mike Trout, Anthony Rizzo, Justin Upton, and Dexter Feller, which if you're listening to this, I God hope you're a sports fan and you know who those players are. Because if you don't, go look them up. All right.
And baseball's terrible at marketing themselves, but Mike Trout, yeah, you should definitely know that guy.
You should at least know Trout. You should at least know Trout, and you should at least know Rizzo. Those two.
Yeah, Rizzo and Fowler won the World Series together. Yep.
Well, yeah, Justin Upton, 4-time All-Star, so you guys should know him too. So here's the deal. Let's start from the beginning. About, I want to say 6-7 months ago, I was on my phone, and I see a fellow by the name of Bob Menery, who some of you probably know. Was
a lot of people probably know him more than the people who know who Mike Trout is.
All right, that's true. That is true. Well, I gotta get in the voice. For those who don't know about Menery, it's like well, Peter, 1st and 10. Oh, and then I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want to get into it more. But you guys,
yeah, we won't
anyway,
say on this podcast what he called you for 4 hours straight, because I don't want a big E next to my podcast on Apple Podcast.
Oh, and his head fell off. That's the famous Joe Flacco clip that he has out there. But anyway, I want to listen to that back after and see if it was actually a good impression or not. But maybe. The point is this. He was in Stamford, Connecticut. He's usually on the West Coast, and I just saw he was in Stamford, and I'm not that far away from Stamford. I'm maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes from Stamford here in Queens. So I DM'd him. I'm like, hey, Bob. And it's funny. I had been on his game show. He did these game shows for a while. I don't know if you remember that.
During COVID,
I had been on his, I was on his COVID game show, and I did a trick for him, and he loved it. And I got $100. He sent me $100, which is really nice of him. So I DM'd him. I'm like, hey, magician, let me know if you're down to hang out, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, he messaged me back basically right away. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, of course, let's do it. I'm down. I guess he looked at my stuff and he's like, okay, this kid's decent. Let's do it. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went down there. I picked him up from his Airbnb. He super nice. We just went out. We went out on the street, just basically just to mess with people and just to have a good time, which is what I do anyway, which is what I like doing. I have a bunch of stuff on YouTube and social media where I just go out and rant to people in the street, kind of like a David Blaine type, where he just goes over to people and messes with them, try to get some good reactions. Yeah, so we hung out, and he posted me on tagged me in his stories a bunch. And he's a really funny dude, by the way. He's crazy. And like in real life, even he's just nuts. And then he was a good hype man. Like he kept hyping me up to everyone. He's like, yo, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. That was really funny. But basically, yeah. So whatever. I go home. Cool. It was an awesome experience. I had a good time. And I got a bunch of followers from it because he has 3 million on Instagram, and I had probably, I think it was about 1,000, maybe 1,500. No, I want to say about 1,000, maybe 1,200 new followers from Bob, which was cool. I'll be honest, I didn't really look at them because I didn't think that there was gonna be anyone important on there. And they were coming in super quick, so like I kind of missed all of them. Like a day or two later, I'm looking at the a day or two later, I'm like looking at my followers, and I actually get a DM from a friend of mine, and he's like, "Do you realize? Do you know that Mike Trout's following you?" I'm like, "No." I look, and Mike Trout's following me on Instagram, and he's only following like 600 people, and he has like 3 million. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. All right, cool. And I was like a little confused. I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like I realized where it probably came from, and I was like, that's awesome, good stuff. So I was super surprised, and I was obviously really happy about that. And then basically what happened was, fast forward like another day or two. And by the way, I have a couple other athletes who followed me through that.
And you saw that he was like looking at your stuff, though. He was looking at your stories when you
Oh
posted it.
yeah. Sorry, no. So like, it wasn't just a blind follow. Like he looked at my stories. He was looking at my stuff. Like I was like, dude. I was like, this is crazy. Yeah, I'm like, this is crazy. So I realized like a day or two later. And also, yeah, I was just saying before how there's a couple other athletes that followed me from that. No one obviously as high profile as him, but I have a player on the Predators who follows me. I got a couple other athletes and celebrities who follow me. Maybe not A+ celebrities, but definitely B+ A caliber. But yeah, no. So and then I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, why? Again, back to what I was saying before. Like, you don't ask, you don't get. Like, if I didn't DM him, he could have just followed me, and that would have been it. And he would have seen some cool magic, and we never would have talked. But I decided, I said, you know what? I'm gonna DM him. I'm just gonna say, hey, Mike, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. If you ever need anything from me, let me know, and kind of just put it out there and just say, appreciate the follow. And that's what I did. And I sent them a DM, and I'll pull it up here for you now so you can see it for the people that are watching this. If you're listening, I'll just read it out. But for those of you who are watching, I'll show you can see it as well. Let's pull this up here. Basically, I wrote, here it is. I wrote, gotta scroll up because we've been talking since then.
Yeah, best friends. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, it's cool. There it is. I don't know if it's gonna focus in there. This should focus actually. Let me get this to focus. Here we go. And for those of you who are not listening, let me read that. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Hey, it says, hey, I really appreciate the follow. I'm a big fan. If you're ever in need of incredible magic, absolutely feel free to hit me up anytime. So I wrote, reach out anytime. Feel free to reach out anytime. And that was it. And that was the DM. And that was it. And he messaged me back like an hour and a half later. And he goes, dude, love your stuff for sure. We'll let you know some of the stuff is insane. Ha ha. And I lost my mind.
And immediately like, he's so casual about it and like just friendly about it.
And I was like, yeah, I'm like, what in the world? So I'm like, quick. I just like, my hands are like shaking. I was like, thanks so much.
Were we together or did you call me right after this happened?
I think I don't know if I screenshotted it, but I definitely texted you right away. And I was like, yeah, dude, you're never going to believe what just happened. And I'm like, thanks so much. Legitimately, let me know if you ever want me to come down to perform for you or your family or whoever. Thanks again. And then that was pretty much it. And yeah, we didn't speak for like maybe like a month. But he still followed me. Like he's seeing my stories. He's seeing my stuff. And yeah, by the way, just going to put this out there. What a nice dude. What a good dude. Like you don't have to be like, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to follow me. He didn't have to engage with me. He didn't have to message me back. He could have just liked my tweet, my DM, and that would have been the end of it. And like, I never would have spoken to him again. But just shows what kind of person he is also.
And athletes in general, we forget sometimes because they're so famous, they're humans. Like, and that's something I try and talk about on the show. And sometimes they don't act too nice to other humans because they really are, above everyone else just with their A-list celebrity. But guys like Mike Trout remind you that, oh, they're just regular humans and sometimes really good guys. So fast forward a couple of months and you go to LA. So
yeah, so like, first of all, I can't speak for all athletes, but at least the ones that are in this story are ridiculously awesome. Basically, just how I got to LA in the first place. We were talking a little bit back and forth when the Angels came to New York to play the Yankees. I messaged him. I said, hey, I'm not sure if you're in New York because he was hurt the whole year, so I wasn't sure if he was around. He said, no, I'm still in LA, but hit me up when you come to LA, whatever it was. We talked a little bit more. Long story short, we figured out a good date for me to come. I told him, I said, yeah, these dates work for me. Let me know if it's good. He's like, yeah, awesome, cool, good, whatever, fine. Also, I skipped one thing. He said, he's like, yeah, we want to get you in the clubhouse. A bunch of guys want to see some stuff. Like, let's get you in the clubhouse. Fine, cool. Comes time for me to go to LA. The Delta variant is doing its thing. And he texted me, he's like, hey, I'm not sure if this is going to work in the end because the Delta, they're not letting anybody in the clubhouse, whatever. But he's like, you know what? He's like, I'll get you tickets to the game anyway. Just, obviously you'll get to enjoy yourself, but like, I feel bad, but like, here you go. I'll get you tickets. So I was like, all right, cool. It is what it is. At least I'll get to say hi to him. At least, we'll just get to hang out for a minute, maybe. So I'm like, all right, it's for sure still worth it, of course. So went down there, got the tickets. He sent them to me through the ballpark app, popped right up on my phone. Great seats. I get there. And by the way, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I have a YouTube video that's basically this, not the beginning part of the story, but from basically here on in.
Yes, definitely check it out. It's
YouTube video is incredible.
Yeah, and if you're not watching it right now, like if you're listening to this podcast, pause it, go watch the video, come back, listen to the rest of the podcast.
1,000%.
Or you'll probably go down the YouTube rabbit hole of watching Shlomo Levinger's videos for the next 8 hours. So I'll see you in 8 hours from now.
As you should. Yeah, no, excuse me. So yeah, go watch the video because you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Like,
yeah, and I'll put the link in the description to the podcast. So
all right, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so basically then like he messages me like at the game. I DM'd him. I said, hey, got the tickets. I'm here. I sent him a picture of where I was at. And he's like, awesome. I'm glad to hear. And then that was it. And he's like, all right, I'll come out. I'm coming out in a sec, whatever. I'm just like, because it was right before the game time. They play the national anthem. He pops his head out of the dugout and like, this was the coolest thing for me. Like, this is to me, like even cooler in a way than like, whatever you'll see later on. But basically he pops his head out of the dugout. He looks around and he's like he's looking for me. He sees me and he like gives like this big, and this is in the video, you can see this in the video, he points at me and gives like this big fist bump. Like he was so happy to see me. It was the funniest thing. He points
to Joe Madden. He's like, yo, check this guy out, that's my guy.
Yeah. And then he goes over to Joe Madden and he's like explaining like who I am, like what I'm doing. Like it was the funniest thing ever. I was cracking up and I was like, what in the world is happening right now? This is pretty trippy. But yeah, basically then he messaged me like not during the game, but like right before the game. He was hurt, so he wasn't playing. So he goes back into the clubhouse, I guess, to get his phone. He DMs me. He's like, hey, a couple guys want to see some stuff after the game. You down? I was like, yeah, of course, right? I brought stuff with me also, by the way. I brought some magic with me because I knew that this might happen. I was hoping. So I had my stuff with me. I was ready to roll. I'm like, yeah, for sure. He's like, okay, after the game, just meet me at the players parking lot. I'll tell you where to go, whatever. We'll make it happen. So I was like, all right, this is awesome. So yeah, and then after the game, it was a great game, 9-8. I think the Angels won 9-8. It was Stanton hit a bomb that game. I have a video of it somewhere. Ohtani homered. I think it was like right into the first row. There's a couple other crazy things happened in that game. Rizzo doubled, I think 2-run double. A lot of action, but the Angels did end up winning. And honestly, I'm a Yankee fan, but I couldn't care less. Like that game was like really meant nothing to me. I was just like the whole time I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I really hope this goes well. Like I didn't know what to expect. yeah, so went out there, and then after the game, we went over there. He pulled up in like a golf cart with like a couple other players. He led us into the players parking lot, and we just hung out there. And I met him, and first thing I said to him, I was like, "Dude, you're crazy." You could hear it in the video. I'm like, "Dude, you're crazy," because like in my head, I'm like, "You're nuts for just bringing me out here. Like this makes no sense." But yeah, and then I basically hung out with that. We hung out for an hour. At this point, by the way, our initial crew was just Trout, Dexter Fowler, and Justin Upton. Rizzo didn't come yet; he came a little bit later on. But yeah, I did a bunch
he
of
actually
magic on
played,
them.
so he had to like shower and get there from the
Right,
opposing
exactly. He was
clubhouse
dealing
or
with
whatever.
that game. Dude, Dexter Fowler's knee was a mess. His like you see like his knee like sticking out of his knee. It was like he comes over to me. He's like, "Dude, can you magically fix my knee?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." As I'm like that costs a little bit extra, but I could try to work. I could try to work on it.
So the video's awesome. You're hanging out with the guys, like you said, for an hour, and the video's worth every second because people want to see like what these guys are like behind the scenes. But you
Oh,
saw,
by the way,
yeah,
for those of you who haven't caught on yet, like the video is me doing magic on them for like a good 20 minutes. Like there's 20 minutes of really, really good magic in there on for the players, and the reactions are some of the best reactions you'll ever see. So yeah, I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, go ahead.
and what I was saying is it really humanizes them, and you're hanging out with them. What's that like? Seeing that side as a huge sports fan, you're someone who all of a sudden you see a different light. The players are hanging out together with each other after the game. They're kind of just like having a good time. You see their personalities shine through that you don't really see on TV. What was that whole thing like for you?
Yeah, so it was first of all just a crazy experience because yeah, like you said, it's much more personal and like you're really just hanging out with them and they're they're like to them, I'm like this crazy like
Right, they're
like
treating
this
you like a superstar.
yeah, like they're treating me like I'm the celebrity, and like to me, I'm like I do this every day, like like and so it's the same thing both ways. Like to them, they're like we play baseball every day, and you're bringing something different to the table, and to me, it's like this is my job, and and I look up to you guys. So, yeah, you get both ends of the spectrum there, but yeah, I mean to answer your question, how did I really like tap into the zone of where I wasn't nervous and not like freaking out? I think it's mostly just from my experience performing. Like I think I kind of just went into performance mode and just went into like what I do on the day-to-day basis for for companies and for top level executives and just different. Like today I did a show for Haynes, and I'm not trying to like pump myself up, but
No,
like
not
I
at
did a show
all.
for Haynes. Well, Haynes, yeah, and Champion and a couple other just big brands and names and companies and just um and I just kind of went into that mode where where I'm just a performer and I know my craft and I'm comfortable with it and I know what I'm doing. Plus, like my personality when I perform is just an amplified version of who I am in real life. So it was a pretty easy transition for me to just be able to just go into that and get comfortable and kind of just pretend like what, I'm at a corporate gig or I'm at an event or I'm doing some party somewhere. And yeah, and I mean I'm doing my best stuff, so it's like I'm just making it all, just making it happen. And I think the most important part is this is kind of circling back to what we spoke about in the beginning, is where even in the video you can see this, like it's not just the tricks. Like I'm not just doing tricks on them and they're just blowing their mind. I seem really comfortable in the video and and I remember it's so funny. It's hard for me to remember in real life. Like at the time, it's like going back in my head, like remembering it. I'm trying to remember what like
You
did
look
I
like
really
you're
feel
hanging
that
out in a
comfortable?
group of friends, like that you've known your
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
life.
and
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I actually felt that comfortable in real life, and I think I did. Was just basically because of what I just said. Like I kind of just I relaxed. Like once I did that first trick and got that first reaction, I'm like, all right, we're good. Like I know they like it. We're good. We're good. Uh, so yeah, I mean, yeah, just kind of just zoning in there was like the key thing for me.
Okay, so a few things. You've blown up since then even more than you already have, I'm assuming. You're doing all these corporate events. Does it connect? You're a huge sports fan. Does it go back to sports? Is that something like, oh my God, I tasted a bit of that. I want to get back into that. I know you have some stuff in the works that maybe we can or can't talk about here, but what's the next step for you? How do you leverage this into, the next step?
Yeah, so I think first of all, I do have some stuff in the works. I don't want to say anything yet, just because I want to keep people on their toes and just honestly,
Yep,
I don't
yep.
have anything.
We're not breaking news here.
It's not concretely lined up yet, but I spoke to this person today, yesterday, and we're moving along. So we're gonna get something done for sure, and you guys will see who that is shortly. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the way to go from here is just to use it as a stepping stool, a publicity stepping stool, and just being able to just put the videos out there and let people enjoy it. Like right now, it's exclusively on YouTube. Like you can't find these videos anywhere else. You know, in a week from now, I'm just spacing it out just to try to get, you know, to try to blow up the YouTube as much as possible. But you know, in a week from now, I'll have a couple clips on Instagram. I'll have a couple stuff on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on wherever, everywhere. Just pop it out there, and just see, you know, see what happens with these videos. Twitter, even, like, I had a couple people retweeted on Twitter that I'd never heard of or seen in my life, but did, like, someone tagged me in a post with like a screenshot from my video. I'm like, where did you see that? Like, what, you know, it was funny. Like, there's this one trick I do where I have them like all like holding hands. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty funny. So if you want to see a really funny trick where Anthony Rizzo, Justin Upton, Dexter Fowler, and Mike freaking Trout are all holding hands, go watch the video. Anyway, there's like a picture of like a screenshot from my video, and you see, like, I don't know, I think it was like the Powerpuff Girls or something, where you see like a picture, like a screenshot, like a side by side, and it's like one is like a cartoon from like one of these TV shows where like they're all holding hands, and this one's like these players holding hands, and there was like some caption there, it was like a meme or something, and someone like made a meme out of my video. It was like weird, but it was cool because like it shows how it just got around. But yeah, I think the next step is just being able to take this and just being able to use it to my advantage, and, you know, obviously perform for more athletes, and do more events, and use it just kind of in business perspective, I think. Also, my goal is not to try to, I'm as a performer, I'm not trying to do a Vegas show. I'm just not. I know people like magicians, they're like, you know, what's the top thing for you? And they go, oh, to do a show in Vegas. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm not into that. So I think just being able to do bigger and better events and to charge more for my services and being able to perform on bigger stages, that's kind
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
goal.
gonna say
So
that you said earlier that you charge like $250 for a thing in New Jersey, and what's really impressive
yeah,
is you haven't raised your prices since then. Yeah, so that's what's
um,
really impressive.
yeah, I mean, it's still 250 and then a couple zeros after.
Yeah,
So that's where
exactly. Yeah.
we're
But
at.
you mentioned it because you talked about career goals, and that was really the next place I was going to go. Obviously, you talked about the smaller wins early on. You're having some huge wins, and yet you're still, your work ethic, you're sticking to the method. You still have goals in mind that you want to reach. So, you know, hearing someone like you, who's someone could look at you and say, "Oh, he's made it," and then, you know, you still are so young and you have so many places that you're trying to reach, and that's also, you're still committed to the craft and working your butt off like 24/7. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that that's a good message for anybody who, at least who's starting out or who runs any business or any sort of thing. Just stay consistent. I think consistency is like what keeps you going and what will eventually get you there. I'll give you a good example, actually. And this is, I don't know if you guys are gonna know what I'm talking about. I don't even know if you're gonna know what I'm talking about, Rami, but this is on TikTok. There's this kid, I'm not even kidding. There's this kid on TikTok who for 500 days straight, okay? That's over a year. 500 days straight. This kid made a TikTok basically challenging David Dobrik to a tennis match. I don't know if you're familiar with this kid. 500 days he made a video, and these videos don't take 2 seconds to make. This kid made, for 500 days straight, he challenged David Dobrik to a tennis match. And after 500 days, he actually got to play tennis against David Dobrik. Now, to me and you, I couldn't care less to play tennis against David Dobrik.
Yeah.
But for this kid, that was his goal. He desperately wanted to play tennis against David Dobrik. And you know what? After consistency, he could have stopped after 30 videos and this never would have happened. But the fact that he was consistent about it and kept going, and I think it's, yeah. And even if he would have stopped after 300, I don't think it would have happened. But the fact that he was consistent with it, he got there. He did the video. He filmed it. He played tennis against David Dobrik. I'm sure he had a great time, and now he's using that as a stepping stool, as a springboard to whatever he's going to do next. I'm not sure what it is, but the point is that it's just all about consistency. And you know what? His comments for for over a year said, this is never going to happen. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. He's not going to respond. He's not going to respond. He couldn't care less. I mean, at a certain point, I feel like David Odom probably just felt bad and he's just like, all right.
Yeah.
But
that's
still,
what Mike Trout did with you. He was like,
it.
I feel bad for this kid. He keeps DMing me every day.
Yeah, no, that's the funny part. That like he initiated this to begin with. So like I really like never bothered him. I'm not into that. I feel like, you know, the more like people are like, oh, like, well, like, why don't you text him every day? Like, why don't you just like, but I'm not crazy. Like, you know, I'm not gonna just bombard him. Like that's totally opposite of what we're trying to, like, what this is all about. So
what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So like I said, we'd talk about this earlier, so I do want to hit on it quickly. This is true anywhere, but in our community, in the Jewish community, where everyone's so close knit, everyone has such similar experiences growing up, and the community, they try and lift each other. But you know, what we've seen is sometimes in the world and sometimes in our community, there's a path that's like, oh, this is your path, is what you're supposed to do. And you kind of really went off course. You're like, no, I want to do this. This is something that I think I can make it, and it's something I can do. And you've seen that not only did the community accept that, they've lifted you up. And so that's something I want to talk about, that like people have to realize, if you want to do something and you're willing to actually put in the work and do what we talked about, then like you don't have to go down like the normal path, quote unquote, but you can actually make your own thing, and you'll see that people will not only appreciate that, but they'll help lift you up. How have you seen that in your career, and what is your message to people who want to do that?
Yeah, so I think that it's hard for me to answer that question in a sense of if depending. I think it's depending on what you're doing. I think that entertainment is the type of thing where everyone pretty much enjoys it. I don't think it's something that a lot of people don't like. So I think that I part of what you're asking me, I think, is that eventually I got lifted up. But I think from the beginning, actually, I've always been encouraged, and I think a really positive attitude. I had a assistant principal in high school who my school had a rule, no playing cards, because they didn't want people gambling during school hours, and they just didn't want any problems like that. So you weren't allowed to bring playing cards to school, which is fair. But for me, obviously, that's where I practice. That's my practice facility, right? So
your playground was your playground, so to speak.
Yeah, like exactly. Like my assistant principal in high school, he used to just come over to me, he used to be like, Shlomo, like he'd pull me off the side, be like, show me a trick, and like stuff like that, where like the school had a rule against it, but he loved seeing magic, so he's like, show me a trick. And I think that even when I started out and I was doing magic for people, and I was doing even smaller stuff, and kind of just trying to grow myself and my brand, and my not even at that point, it wasn't even a brand, but trying to just grow what I was trying to do. I think I was always supported, not just by my family, my friends, obviously. My mother has seen 1,000 card tricks, like like.
By the way, it never gets old. Knows, I see your stuff and I freak out every time. Like I will literally watch it 1,000 times.
My mother knows everything. Like she knows it all. My brother as well. Like he films for me. He knows it all. So I mean, yeah, my friends, my family, everybody, super supportive, even going back to the beginning. So I think part of that is just that, like that camaraderie, and like I was talking about before, how everyone just feels responsible for one another and just like wants everyone else to succeed. Also, plus the fact that there's not a lot of competition in this field, especially in our community. So, people, it's not like people are fighting for me to fail. I think it's always been more of the opposite.
And part of that, people wanting to see you succeed is because of your personality. You talked about Mike Trout's humility and how he's maintained, the way he is. Like you said, you've blown up, and you see people just want you to succeed. People are you've stayed the same. That balancing act that you do, where you're the same guy that I've known since like a couple of years ago, day one, just like, when it comes to meeting other people and being just a good person. That balancing act, how's that been for you, where you're not like, this is probably what helps people want to help you out, because you're just a good dude. Like, what's that been like, that balancing act?
It's a really deep question, actually, because I think it's just the question is really how do you separate who I am as a person and who I am as a performer. Um, and I think that, like I kind of said before, like my performance on stage is just an amplified version of who I am in real life. And there is truth to that. At the same time, it's still an act. It's kind of, you're not acting, but you're presenting yourself in front of people. And I think that um, when you're in real life, just like who I am as a person, like we were roommates. I'm not walking around the room all day. Oh, like here's a trick.
Yeah, no.
Like it's not
On the
like
other
that.
hand, I was walking around talking to myself about sports constantly. So
That is true. That is true. That's fair enough.
Sometimes making you listen
1,000%
too, which is crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, we did plenty of podcasts. They just weren't recorded. That's
It's funny because we have the same four sports teams where like, I don't know a lot of people who are
true.
Knicks, Jets, Rangers, and Yankee fans. It's kind of a weird combination.
Yeah. No, I'm aware, and I don't even get my number one team like of fandom is the Jets. I don't even want to start with the Jets because they every year just seem to hit a new low. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
well, we went
you
to
can't get worse than Adam Gase. Like in my mind, you can't get worse than Adam Gase. But to be honest, where they're at right now, this might be worse. It might be.
Listen,
I'm
you
not
want to
sure,
talk
so.
sports? We could go for another 2 hours talking about the Jets. I think
Oh,
they
for
have,
sure.
their draft class from this year is really good. I'll say that whether they hit on Wilson or not, their draft class is really good. So
Yeah,
that's a
Elijah Moore is a
positive.
good pick.
Elijah
Moore is
Moore,
great.
both Michael Carter's, Vera Tucker. It's a good draft.
Yeah, solid. And I just, but the thing is with the Jets is just that they continue to disappoint year in year out. They're always plagued
Proud
with
season
injuries.
ticket holder right here.
By the way, there's something I don't care what people say. There's something up with the MetLife turf. Like the amount of Giants and Jets players that get hurt year in year out consistently. That's a real problem. And I think
Yeah, we saw it with San
are they making
Francisco
that change in the
complaining about it
grass?
last year.
Yeah, are they making that change in the end? Because I think they should. Because
I
like honestly.
I read something about that where they were going to change the grass. I thought they did it before this season, but it doesn't make sense. There have been so many injuries.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. I think they're doing it maybe next year or the year after. But yeah, I mean the Jets don't even get me started with that. And then obviously, I'm not sure to be honest. My next team, I'm not sure if it's the Knicks or the Yankees. I don't know which one I'm a bigger fan of. I think it's both kind of equal. I absolutely love the Yankees when they're playing well, and I absolutely love the Knicks. So it's like I'm not sure which one
It's
is
more
first,
rare that the
but
Knicks are playing well, so it's probably more exciting. I would
yeah,
say
I mean,
that.
last season was one of my favorite sports fan seasons ever. So I don't care that they went to the play. Like I don't care that they lost in the first round. Like I don't care. It was to me that season was just magical to watch. No pun
And by
intended. But
contrast, the
seriously,
Knicks lost in the the Yankees, lost in the first round of the playoffs, and it was a miserable season. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But we always have higher expectations for the Yankees. There's no question.
yeah,
But the thing is, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Everyone, and this is kind of more like current sports related, but everyone and all these talk show hosts, oh, the Yankees, what are they doing? They're not doing anything. And I saw you tweeting about this also. I'm just going to come out straight and argue with you. I don't think they have a problem. I don't. We went through this last year with LeMahieu, DJ LeMahieu. Oh, well, you're not signing LeMahieu. You're not signing LeMahieu. Everyone's crying. Everyone's complaining, and then they end up getting the deal done. The Yankees are that team that just are going to. They'll make it happen. I don't care what people like to complain. That's the bottom line. And
yeah.
I think
I'll argue one thing about that we saw in 2008 or whenever 2007 when the boss was. I think it was 2006 or 7 when the boss was alive. He spent over $200 million. The payroll's gone up by I think $10 million since then, and their revenue that the team has brought in has more than doubled. It's gone from like $280 million to 600 something million dollars per year. So to say that they're obviously not spending to their capabilities. Now, do I think they have a good enough roster to compete? Yes. Do the players need to be better? At the end of the day, it falls on them. It falls on the people. And, that includes the manager, Aaron Boone, performing. Yes. But I do also think that in contrast to what they've done in the past, what we've seen where look what the Dodgers did last year, where it's like, hey, we're really good. We want to get even better. Let's go trade for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner in the middle of the year. Let's sign Trevor Bauer, even though that didn't work out.
yeah, but they also don't have Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres in the middle of the lineup, which Oh my God, don't even, like those guys, those two, just
I
end it.
know.
Just
So
end
don't
it.
you think George would have gotten
Just
rid of
end
them,
it.
kicked them to the curb 2 years
Oh,
ago?
absolutely. I don't know what they're
Yes.
so hung up on with those two. Torres and Sanchez are a disaster. I don't want to hear this. Oh, he's better at second. The guy can't hit. He's
And who
you know
knows what?
what, by the way,
Yeah.
I have a real theory. And maybe I'm crazy for saying this. I think that the ball thing is a real thing. Like, and I think that the MLB actually puts the good balls in for certain games. Like, look at the cornfield, like the what do you call it game? The Yankees
Yeah.
White
Yeah. The
Sox.
Field of Dreams game,
Like,
100%.
dude, those balls were flying out of there for some reason. And everyone was able to hit all of a sudden. So I think baseball kind of has their
Yeah,
finger on the
I've
pulse when it
had
comes
it
to.
with I've had it with all the scandals in baseball. It drives me insane, as it should if you're a
Yeah,
sports fan.
what's with baseball? What's with that? Like going back to the Astros and like even the Angels with Tyler Skaggs and like just all these weird stuff that happens in baseball, the baseballs and the mud and the this and the that.
And
There's
now the
just so much
union
weird.
and the players and the owners can't get along. It's ridiculous. Yes, don't
By
even
the way, what's
ask.
with this? These profile pictures. I don't get it. Like it's just saying that we're not players anymore. Like what's the
No,
deal with that? Like,
baseball took down all players from their website when the lockout started. They scrubbed their whole website they took down all current players, all
so
current videos,
players are
all
just
current
being
highlights.
like,
So the players are making a joke out of it, and they're like, "Ha ha ha! Look, we're now just faces." But like it's so stupid because the players are in the wrong on this, and that's an unpopular opinion. But you'll have to go read what I'm writing some stuff now for League of Justice, Amy Dash's site, so you'll go see what I said there.
yeah, no, I think that. And I was talking to my dad about this. Like, what? Like, I don't get why like like MLB makes so little money and the players have such big contracts and they're the ones complaining. It makes no sense to me. Like where the MLB and the owners get the kind of money that they're spending on players is
Yeah,
beyond me. Like
yeah,
I
and it's
think
just because
that
their union is the strongest union, and it's been that way. And I don't know. Baseball may never
I
come
think
back.
owners that have multi hundred billion contracts. I think that they're losing money. Like I don't think Steve Cohen's making money on the Mets. Like I don't care what you say. Like he's not making any money on SNY. He's not making money on the team, on ticket sales, on pretzel sales, or whatever the heck they sell over there.
Hey, they sell a lot
The
of stuff. You'd be surprised what the
the
revenue is.
the, the,
Like,
the ice cream helmet. Like I don't care what they sell there. There's no way Steve Cohen is making that much
seeing
on the
it a
Mets, and
little
yet
bit
he's
from the
spending a ridiculous amount.
seeing it a little bit from the other side, the revenue is abnormal. I mean, what some of these advertisers pay, what some of the revenue they bring in. You have to remember it's 81 home games for each team also, and the revenue that comes in each game. I think the revenue is crazy, and the TV deals
Yeah, but
are
ticket sales
insane.
are down. Ticket sales are down. TV ratings are
Yep.
horrible.
Yep.
They're barely scratching 100,000 views on some of these even in market games. Like no one's watching these games. Like you're getting maybe, I don't know the numbers, I don't know the ratings, but I know that it's low and I know it's really low. And like you're getting literal YouTubers to get more views in the 3 hour time span that they post their video in the first 3 hours of the video than you're getting on probably half the baseball games that are on TV at the same time. So it's ridiculous. Like I think baseball has a lot of fixing to do. And one big thing for me that I think baseball has the biggest problem with is obviously their marketing. They've been actually pretty active on TikTok, which I think is kind of cool. I think that's something that's been good for them and big for them. But their marketing is horrible. They don't market their big players well. Like look at Trout. Like the guy is awesome. And I don't think he even wants it. But to be fair, like the MLB should have someone on him all at all times. Just
Oh,
making
100%.
content.
Yeah,
So
the marketing's awful. And
yeah, I
they're
mean,
both sides are so tone deaf to the fans. Both the players and the owners are so tone deaf. Like,
listen, baseball should pick up my video and put it on their website. Like, what are you doing?
yeah. Listen, if they're looking for a marketing consultant, I'm right here. I'm ready to go. We'll do it. We'll step in there tomorrow and just help them out.
Dude,
Meanwhile, but thank you for doing this because I just checked my Rangers they were up 2-1 when I started when we started talking, and now they gave up 5 straight goals. They're down 6-2. So they've been
well,
hot recently. What?
I'm obviously a really good really good luck for you.
Yeah, your timing's perfect. I'm glad I didn't have to watch that. They have
Well,
their
it happens to be. I did watch my first Rangers game yesterday, and that's my 14th of the Rangers. Which, to be fair, I'm a playoff Ranger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big hockey guy.
Hopefully you'll
But
have a lot to root for
like
this
as they
year.
say, no one cares about a hockey boomer. Like seriously, it's It's fourth. It's fourth on my list, and I'm probably on a lot of other people's lists as well. It's either first or fourth. You know what I mean? Hockey's that sport. It's either first or fourth. So for me, it's fourth. And I watched my first Ranger game last night because I was like, I got to see what this hype is about. And they look really good. They look really good. I had a fun time watching the game. So,
Yeah, well, not tonight. They have their fourth string goalie in, and it's
listen,
not
it
going
happens
well.
to the best of us, you know.
Yep.
You know. By the way, you remember when we went to Hartford to watch Georgiev?
We saw Georgiev give up like 8 goals.
He gave up like
Hartford.
7 or 8 goals in a minor league hockey game. The guy's a disaster. Get him, Gary Sanchez, and Glaber.
But you know what? 2 weeks later, I saw him play against Toronto at the Garden, and he had 50 saves in that game against like John Tavares and Austin Matthews and all those guys. I was like, what the hell is going on?
I don't
with
think
this
anyone
clown?
thinks he's actually good.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone thinks he's actually good. By the way, in that game, I don't know if you remember this, I did some magic on the jumbotron. That was also just like,
oh, that was
like, hey.
that was fun. Yeah.
I was like, yep. I was like, hey, put me on the jumbotron. He's like, all right. There was like 30 people in the building.
I DM'd Lundqvist. I was like, hey, Hank, can you start tonight? We might need you. I DM'd him today.
Definitely. Like, dude, I could have strapped up and gone in there and probably did a better job. Like that was disastrous.
Yeah.
The funniest part of that was just that, like, I was just like, this guy is like the Rangers goal. Like,
he's their backup. Yeah, we went during the All-Star break, so they had a lot of guys
Yeah.
down there. They had like 7 or 8 guys from the. That's why.
Yeah, there was a lot of players that they had at the time. By the way, you see that goal yesterday, Sonny Milano?
Oh, that was nuts.
Holy cow!
Alley-oop.
Dude, so funny story about Sonny Milano. Sonny Milano, he's from Long Island. He's a good friend. I have a rabbi whose kids are ridiculously good hockey players, top hockey players in their conference, in their age group, in their age bracket. These kids like ridiculously good. And he like trained them for like I think a year in Port Washington, Long Island. So
Long Island is literally just breeds professional athletes, especially hockey players.
Yeah,
I mean, Adam Fox.
He knows. So I texted my rabbi this video of this goal, and he was loving it because I remember when I was actually studying in Israel in yeshiva there. I remember like when he got drafted by the Blue Jackets. I remember like honestly keeping up with the Blue Jackets just because Sonny Milano was on their team. I used to watch all their highlights. And that's by the way, that's when I realized, like, I noticed Panarin because I don't think anyone watched Blue Jacket games, but I was watching these Blue Jacket highlights every night. I watched Blue Jacket highlights every night for a year in Israel, and because I had nothing else to do. And I was watching Artemi Panarin. I'm like,
Yeshiva life, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm like,
I'm
who
kidding.
is this guy? This guy's a stud. I'm like, this guy's an absolute stud. And lo and behold, Artemi Panarin, top 5 player in the league. So
yeah, and it's so cool. Jews are great at hockey for some reason. I know a guy my wife grew up with also. He just got drafted by the Calgary Flames a couple years ago. He's playing at Michigan State now. So hopefully we'll see what he can do. But yeah, take a quick picture. Let's do that. But plug what you got to plug. And yeah, plug what you got to plug, and let's get out of here because I feel like I've held you for long enough. So
yeah, let's do this. I'm going to show you a trick. All right. Can we do a trick?
Oh, for sure.
All right. So I'm going to do a visual one.
Better than a plug is something that the audience could actually hear and attach themselves to.
Yeah. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to do something quickly, just visuals that the people that are watching this visually can see something kind of cool, and something new I've been working on. And then I'll do something audio related as well, as my camera battery is about to die. So I'm going to switch this battery out. Just give me a sec. All right. Here's a trick. So I'm going to do this first for the visual audience, and then we'll do the audio audience separately. I don't know how you edit these, but I don't know if you could do separate. Meaning,
yeah. No, well, we're good.
We'll leave it out of the audio version. Here is the trick I want to show you, and this is kind of cool. You ever see? You know what this is?
I don't.
This is a playing card box that's before it's made.
Okay.
Like this is like the outline of a playing card box. Here's the coolest part though. As a magician, I just buy these. Like the card company sends these to me, and then I can just I can print it, which is kind of cool. Like that's like the actual box printed. And I'll show this to you, like just the unmade box. And then if I want though, you can make the outline of the box. And then you just do 1, 2. And then that's when you get the entire deck of
See, that's
cards,
messed
which
up.
is
So if
kind
you
of cool.
want 20 minutes of that with Mike Trout's reaction instead of mine, definitely go
Like,
watch his video.
that's how I make my cards, which is kind of cool.
That's great because
Yeah.
you don't have to
So
pay for cards this way. So it saves a
yeah,
lot
I
of
have
money.
unlimited stock. I can just keep making decks, which is kind of
Yeah,
cool. But yeah, so there you go.
that's
And
messed up,
then
dude.
let's do this. I can do it here. We'll just do a quick like card change just so we have a use for the deck. We'll do this. You know what? We'll do this for the listening audience, actually. First of all, just for the visual audience. What is this? That is the six of diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the six. Hey, oh, never mind. Vanish.
Yep, they're gone. Yeah.
Congrats. Here, we'll do this though. We'll do this. I'll be fair about this. Let me move my mic out of the way so you can actually see this. But here we go. Deck of cards. Do me a favor. I'm gonna make a prediction right now, and I'm gonna hopefully you'll see this. I'm gonna move my camera down so you can see this. But for all those listening, basically what we're gonna do is I'm gonna make a prediction in a second. So I'm gonna make a prediction in a second. So there we go. Here's the table. I'm gonna put this away. Here we go. I'm gonna deal cards like this on the table. Okay, I'm gonna shuffle them as well. I'm gonna try to predict where you're gonna stop. All right. So I'm gonna shuffle these up. And for the people that are listening, you can hear this. I'll give you some ASMR here. Nice. Here we go.
Listening to that back to fall asleep tonight. Thanks.
Shuffle deck of cards. I'm gonna write something down on a piece of paper here. I'm gonna go with this. Here we go. You ready? Again, just put this. Let me just give this one more shuffle to make sure that really is mixed. Give this one more. Here we go. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Put the cards down here. I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna do this.
It's a big marker.
Yeah, it's a very big Sharpie. Good stuff. Anybody want some? No? All right.
I have to go to rehab for Sharpie sniffing.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. I'm locked in here. I'm gonna fold this up. I'm gonna take it off the page so you can't see what I wrote. I'm gonna put this in an envelope. Just so I can't really mess with it, switch it in or out. I'm gonna put this in an envelope here. So envelope, this is going in here. I'm gonna close it up. This is gonna sit kind of off to the side. All right. So envelope, card. Here we go. I'm gonna try this. Do me a favor. I want you, and yeah, here I'll put this off to the side here. So you, actually, yeah, we'll leave it. I don't know about there. I'm gonna deal through the cards like this for the listeners. Here, you know what? Actually, can I change the prediction? Can I change it?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna change the prediction. I'm gonna take this out of here. Hold on. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna write one more. Hold on. We're gonna do this.
Classic, changing the trick. Classic.
No, I got it. Because I didn't feel like the card I was gonna tell you before was good. So I'm gonna leave this here. Okay.
Now there are good cards and bad cards.
All right, you ready? So here we go. You can call this out. We'll start it from here. Because this is what matters. All right. So I got an envelope here with a prediction. I wrote something down before we got here of a card that I think you're going to stop at. Deck of cards. I'm going to give these a shuffle just before we do anything. So we'll do one of these. We'll do one of these. Nice. We'll do one more. I'm going to deal through the cards like this. We have not set this up, by the way, just to be fair. I don't know for any of you listening or watching. I'm going to deal through the cards like this. And this will be perfect for your social media, by the way. So feel free. I'm going to deal through the cards like this. You're going to call out stop whenever you want, but do me a favor. Really stop when you want to stop, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
All right, stop.
No,
Stop. No, take 2 cards back.
2 cards back. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2. There.
Yeah. There you go.
Go with that. All right. I'm going to put the rest of these cards away because we don't need those anymore. But here's the deal. I had this prediction from before we started of what card you would stop at. Now, if you were here, I would let you open up that prediction and actually like tear it open and go through and take out what's inside.
A real magician would be able to send it through the screen, right?
Yeah, I'll just do this. I'll pull out the piece of paper. I'll be super fair about this. there's a piece of paper that's been in this envelope from the beginning that's been sitting on the side. That says, what does that say?
9 of diamonds.
Nine of diamonds. If the card that you stopped at here is the 9 of diamonds, that's a miracle. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, it's like the 12th night of Hanukkah already.
Yeah, this is the 12th night miracle.
It's not gonna
Because
be
that
it.
is
Oh no, it's
exactly
it. Oh, there we go.
where you stopped.
Another
Well,
Hanukkah
listeners,
miracle.
and by the way,
the
for all
head
those
Jew is
who
gonna
think
have
that
to
these are
petition
all
a
out of
new.
diamond, for
Yeah,
those who
no,
think that these are all diamond,
I
these
see
are
that.
not. These cards are all different. So you could have said stop anywhere. You decided to say stop there. Bam. There you go. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Love
Thank you
hanging
so
out.
much. Again,
Yeah, of
go
course.
follow Shlomo social media. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Subscribe, like and subscribe.
Go watch the Trout video. It's ridiculous and awesome and amazing.
Yeah, check out Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Hire him for your next event. Like we said, it's only $200.
At Shlomo Levinger on all platforms. At Shlomo Levinger on all platforms.
And I'll link everything in the description. Thank you so much for doing this. And hey, maybe we'll get some more sports stuff out there, and maybe I'll come along for the next one and have them sit down and do an interview afterwards.
For sure. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.